This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset your
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
same shoulder length, and the other.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandy and Amir. I'm Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandy Rashidian is not a chiropractor.
That is correct.
Co-host of the most wonderful podcast on Osprey Way.
We might be the only one on Osprey Way.
With one person in live audience who's also the producer of the show. So maybe we once had two live audiences. Remember the guy from the FBI was here?
Oh.
Yeah, and he showed up early, so he had to sit in that chair right there
And watch us.
and watch the podcast. So that was cool. We got him to laugh a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
We were talking about some silly stuff. Anyways, he was here to check. He was a background on one of our former employees
yeah.
who's applying to some
It was
kind of
really
State
awkward
Department.
because he asked a lot of weird questions. A lot of weird questions.
Yeah.
And he was like,
like personal stuff. Like, do
Yeah.
you know how many girlfriends he's ever had?
how many people has he slept with? Like, it was weird, the questions that they were asking. And this is like a friend of our son.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew, I don't want to answer those questions because I don't know. And I never would have asked.
Right.
So anyway.
Oh, your battery just died.
No, it's definitely running low. It may not. Better hurry. I might need this.
All right. People do say I talk slow on the podcast, so I'm going to have to talk fast. Anyways, Real Health Podcast is brought to you by the Frederick Podcast Network. It is found on YouTube and Spotify, but especially on listenfrederick.com and iTunes and iHeartRadio and all the other places. And Real Health Podcast is where we bring you the latest information in mainstream media, whatever we find in the news that is popular or controversial. And we talk about it from a wellness, non-drug, non-surgical perspective. Your battery just died.
I got sad. Did you see it?
Yes,
I went,
I felt it. The table changed
yeah,
state. I mean, everything.
everything.
Anyways.
Good thing
what
I
are
have
you
my
gonna do?
light to keep me
Are you going to plug it in?
warm and happy.
Well, the purpose of the Real Health Podcast is to help you feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. This is the weirdest intro we've ever done.
Yeah.
So you want to pause and plug in your computer? And this article we're going to talk about, it's actually pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this because there's been a lot of stuff, a lot of news and even hearsay and I guess, I don't know, misinformation even about this substance. So it's nice to have an article to discuss. And this is from, I believe, Washington Post in the health section. And the title says, "As a doctor, here's my advice on creatine supplements. Creatine may make you stronger, but only if you meet certain criteria." And I remember that when creatine was popular, I think I was, I don't know, late teens, early 20s.
So young.
People were, like decades ago.
Yeah.
I'm still 30.
You still look 30.
Well, I've been 30 for a while.
Yeah.
I was telling
Like
a
20
patient the
years.
other day, I said, I haven't gotten 30 right yet. If I get it right, my wife will let me go to 31. And she was laughing. She says, "It's taken you a long time to master 30. I go, "I know, but I'm not really in a hurry to move on. You know, I've been 30 for 21 years.
Yeah.
So anyways, but creatine came on the market and it became popular. It's been around forever. Became really popular. People started taking it because it made them stronger. But then I noticed there were some people who would take it and they wouldn't see any results. And then there were some people who would take it and it'd be like they just took some steroids and they would get stronger. So it's true what the subtitle of the article says.
But I wonder too, there's so many things that go into that, like why somebody may get a certain response and someone else doesn't from any supplement,
Yeah.
you know, pharmaceutical, whatever the case may be. Some of it has to do with quality, where they get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And there's still some controversy about whether it affects your kidney function too.
right.
Because a lot of experts say creatine is not the same as creatinine. Creatinine is what's measured to see if your kidneys are working properly. So, but other experts say creatine can become creatinine. It's certainly spelled the same.
Yes, it
So,
is.
Anyways, so what does the article say? It
It
says,
says creatine is getting a lot of attention for its supposed ability to improve strength and cognitive function. There's some validity to the creatine stampede. Multiple randomized controlled studies have found that creatine supplementation can create small but real boosts in upper and lower body strength. What? Why didn't you say body strength? That's weird. But only when combined with resistance training. Well, how would you know if your muscles are stronger?
This is a medical doctor writing this. You got to keep that in mind.
Right. This is going to be, me reading this is going to be like reading the amplified version of the Bible. There's going to be some extras.
Yeah, supplements are not in their wheelhouse, unfortunately. No disrespect to medical doctors. They know a lot. But
it's just not their
area. Do you know the only thing they study regarding nutrition is don't eat sugar if you're diabetes, don't eat salt if you have high blood pressure, and don't eat fat if you're overweight.
Which pretty much all of those are.
Yeah, exactly. So
anyway, without resistance training, creatine supplement is useless, so he says. And really, it's the resistance training we need to do more of in the first place. This is especially true for such groups as postmenopausal women, adults taking GLP-1 medications. Well, it's because you need to be in the gym anyway. And older adults in nursing homes who are all at risk for losing muscle mass. Sometimes people say stuff and it's just stupid. This doesn't make any sense. If you're taking a GLP-1, you should be in the gym exercising. Otherwise, when you go off of it, not only are you going to have all the side effects that you're dealing with, potential side effects of those medications, but you're also haven't trained your body. You haven't built up your muscle mass. Like there's so many things like
a lot of people say most of the weight you lose is bone and muscle when you're on these drugs.
Yeah. Well, you're not doing anything to improve your muscle mass, and if you don't use it, you lose it. That old adage, it's actually right. It's called atrophy.
You basically artificially force yourself to eat less, and then you're not nourishing your body. But then when you're in a starved state, your nervous system wants to preserve body fat for future energy.
Right.
So it destroys some of the other stuff.
So this doctor's advice is before you consider creatine, sorry, I lost my
ask yourself.
Thank you. I totally.
First line.
Thank you. Ask yourself whether you're going to do enough weekly resistance training in order to make it useful. Federal guidelines advise doing exercise specifically designed to strengthen muscles, such as sit-ups, push-ups, and lifting weights, at least 2 times a week. If not, if you're not doing that, then my only guidance on creatine is a solid nope. I found this really fascinating because if creatine's only advantage was muscle strength and growth, then I would agree with that. But that is not the only advantage or reason to take creatine.
Well, that's been the recent findings is cognition. Like they talk about how if you're sleep deprived, 10 grams of creatine makes you feel like you got enough sleep.
Right.
Which is just, it seems like an enormously useful hack. And there are times I take 10 grams in a day. If I don't sleep a lot, I take 10 grams. I think it works because, I mean, I've never had lack of energy. I've never felt sleep deprived, even when I don't sleep a lot.
Well, I wanted to kind of challenge this a little bit. So I did ask Atlas, is there any benefit at all to taking creatine, if you're not exercising? What else, are the benefits? And creatine without exercise, what it still does: brain and energy, cognitive function, cellular hydration, mood and mental health support.
That's why I'm always happy.
Mm-hmm. Anti-aging and neuroprotection.
I haven't aged in 21 years.
There we go. Muscle loss prevention in aging without working out. So it's saying that it actually helps to maintain muscle.
Yeah.
So you don't lose it as you're aging, even if you're not working out.
That sounds good to me.
So, but where it is less effective without exercise is grow muscles without stimulation, giving meaningful strength gains without resistance training, and improving performance metrics without effort. Those are just things that you're not going to see. But there's those are like 3 things.
Nothing grows without stimulation.
Correct.
You don't need to laugh about that.
Okay. Moving on. Yeah. So if you're already training and are in those higher risk categories, or you just want a small edge, then it's reasonable to discuss creatine with your physician.
Go to the person who knows nothing about creatine
I was
and
going to say,
discuss it.
I don't know if that's who you want to go to, but some people start with 3 to 5 grams a day, although women, higher doses may be helpful. But remember, creatine isn't a magic bullet. The magic is lifting consistently. Master the first.
Master that first.
Again, while I do agree, lifting is really important. Last week, we actually learned that if you want to increase bone density, like lifting is not the exercise, which we were always told that's not the one you want to do. You actually want to do jumping or,
or you go to OsteoStrong gym, which is sustained pressure,
right.
Maximal contraction, sustained pressure.
Yeah. So, which none of us are going to go to because there's not one around here. So
they might live in New Jersey. There's one in New Jersey.
They might. So what is creatine? Creatine is considered a non-essential nutrient because it's helpful, and so it's non-essential. We tend to do that in the United States.
It's kind of like essential amino acids. There's some that the body produces, and there's some that the body cannot produce.
Correct.
So the ones they can't produce are called essential.
Yeah. No, I get that. I was actually just being funny because we do tend to do that. Like the medical industry will say that something is not important or
like
not
vitamin
essential.
D. Just because we can produce vitamin D, they call it non-essential, but you should still supplement with it.
Right. So it's a non-essential nutrient because it's produced naturally by your body. It can help form a compound called
ATP.
Oh, thank you. Also known as ATP, as an important energy source for your muscles and organs. Creatine supplements are sold as powder, gummies, or pills. But you can also get creatine in your diet from animal-derived foods such as beef or seafood. Plant-based sources don't contain significant amounts of creatine.
Basically, you got to eat muscle to get muscle.
That's what it sounds like. Analyses of dozens of clinical trials suggest that the clearest strength and power gains show up in men and among adults below the age of 50. For instance, younger adults taking creatine powder while resistance training improved their bench and chest press strength by roughly 4 pounds compared with training alone. Some may feel that 4 pounds isn't life-changing, but especially for higher risk groups, a small edge may be worth it. One caveat, as most research on supplements, several scientists in these studies have industry ties. So they're saying, as with most research, several of the scientists who were doing the research have ties to
I found
the industry
more strength gains from hydrogen tabs than I did from creatine.
That's amazing. And is that because it's dilating the blood vessels more and you're taking in more?
Yeah. I think, hydrogen tabs, I think, increase stamina and increase oxygen saturation in your tissues. So I think both are good. But creatine, as far as the way I understood it, is it increases, you mentioned cell hydration, but it pulls water into your muscles. So a lot of times, I think, especially bodybuilders who take creatine, they're doing it a little bit for the strength gains, but they're also doing it to make their muscles look full.
Right.
Because that water that goes in your muscle makes your muscle look larger.
They also said in the article that that they really did not find, especially in postmenopausal women, that there was a reduction in fractures or anything like that. So they don't feel that there's any real world studies showing that bone density increases with the use of creatine.
But if you go back and watch episode 97 and 98, you'll find that melatonin does increase bone density.
Yes, it does.
Not creatine.
Correct. So I'm going to skip ahead to performance. Other studies have shown increased performance during short periods among female athletes taking creatine, which scientists believe is because creatine can add a burst of energy that helps people work a little bit harder. Creatine powder combined with resistance training may help older adults and with functional ability, such as standing up from a chair as many times as possible in 30 seconds without using their arms.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's a good exercise for some of our older adults, standing, with a chair right behind them.
Yeah.
After you take your creatine, see how many times you can stand up and sit down safely without using your hands.
Yeah, or have a chair in front of you and do use your hands until you don't need your hands.
Yeah.
Whatever you do strengthens you, but challenge yourself. I mean, it's so hard to get people to move sometimes if they're not used to moving.
Yeah. It's a lot of effort.
An object at rest tends to stay
Stay
at
at
rest.
rest. It's true. Cognitive function. I'm struggling to talk today. The data on cognitive function is still in its infancy and it's mixed. For instance, in 2013, randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial of older women did not find that creatine supplementation improved cognition or depression, while a handful of observational studies have reported a positive association with memory testing and creatine intake among older adults, including from dietary sources, not necessarily supplementation. Most research on how creatine supplementation affects the brain is still needed.
More research.
As always, more research. All right.
Well, it's neat though, because obviously, this is a medical doctor who wrote the article, and they always want to be really careful and cautious and, not say too much. But when you listen to the experts who are not medical doctors, but, experts in human physiology, nutrition, kidney, muscle development, there's actually doctors in exercise physiology, and they swear by the fact that it does improve cognitive function.
Yeah.
They've seen it, they've experienced it. So sometimes I like to listen to them more than I would listen to someone.
Well, and if you want to know how it does it, so for mood and mental health support, studies show that creatine helps with low mood, PMDD, depression, and fatigue. These improvements come from creatine's effect on brain ATP recycling, neurotransmitter regulation, and anti-inflammatory pathways in the brain.
Did you say neuroinflammation?
Neurotransmitter regulation.
Regulation, okay.
So I think that's fascinating because am I right that neurotransmission in the brain, those synapses, right, that are, am I using the right terminology, that all those pathways are what get impacted by neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's or dementia, things like that. So if you're protecting the neurotransmitter regulation and you're reducing the inflammation in the brain.
So neurotransmitters are just chemicals.
Okay.
So one nerve cell will release the neurotransmitter, and that crosses the synapse to the other neuron, and then that's how the signal continues. So, or neurotransmitters also are released by nerves to cause muscle contraction.
Gotcha.
Like the substance acetylcholine. So when it says neurotransmitter, it's not talking about the neuron itself. It's talking about the chemicals that communicate between nerve cells.
But if the neurotransmitters, if they're impacted by any of that, then this is going to help.
Yeah.
And we know for a fact that inflammation in the brain, inflammation anywhere in the body leads to disease processes.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're reducing the inflammation in the brain, you're going to have a positive impact. Anti-aging and neuroprotection, creatine also reduces oxidative stress, neural energy deficits, damage during sleep loss, and how many moms need that? And age-related cognitive decline. So, and it says this is why so many longevity doctors recommend creatine even for people who are sedentary or injured. So I don't think this doctor really has everything he needs to be writing this. She, sorry. All right. In terms of dosing, every 3 grams of creatine powder, in terms of dosing, even 3 grams of creatine powder a day has been shown to be effective in the long term, at least for healthy men. For women, particularly postmenopausal women, higher doses may be helpful, and studies suggest that 5 to 10 grams per day is optimal. One common approach to boosting muscle creatine stores quickly I cannot read this article today. One common approach for boosting muscle creatine stores quickly, which is used in several studies. That's the sentence. It doesn't make any sense.
One common approach for boosting muscle creatine stores quickly, which is used in several studies, is to take a loading dose of about 20 grams daily. And this is false because we used to do this. They used to say you got to take 5 grams 4 times a day for the first week, and you load your body with it, and then you go back to 5 grams a day. And that's old school thinking. They don't do that anymore. So yeah, this is broken up into smaller doses of 4 to 5 grams throughout the day for about a week, and then transition to a maintenance dose on the range 3 to 5 grams. But in people who take 3 to 5 grams daily, studies have found muscle creatine stores reach similar levels after about a month. So no loading is required. If you're going to start on creatine supplementation, don't worry about the loading period. Just start taking 5 grams a day. And I think 3 is too small. I've never seen people see benefit from just 3 grams a day. But I guess if you're a smaller person,
maybe.
Yeah. Should I take creatine and protein powder?
Protein powders like whey, pea, or soy are often taken to support muscle recovery after exercise, and it's common for people to take both protein and creatine supplements. It's worth keeping a few things in mind, though. Protein powders are composed of essential amino acids, meaning they are not made naturally by the body, and so we need to get them from our diets. Most people get enough protein from what they eat, but older adults, women, and highly active people should pay closer attention. The FDA does not approve or regulate dietary supplements in the same way that as prescription medication. And a report from Consumer Reports released in October found that more than 2/3 of the 23 protein powders tested contained more lead in one single serving than the watchdog group considered safe to ingest in one day.
Wow. I didn't know there was lead in protein powder, but there are a lot of. I mean, remember when we had Mark and Blake on the show, and they talked about different proteins, and I would make sure just you read it, find out where they're sourcing it, because they need to be sourcing it from grass-fed cows, and harvested properly, and has to be really natural. I mean, there's a lot that can go into these. But yeah, I don't understand why the FDA doesn't regulate that. The FDA, Europe's FDA does, Canada's does. A lot of other countries, their FDA does regulate supplements. And I'm like, why don't we? It makes no sense to me.
But let's take a step back.
I mean, what does F stand for in FDA?
Well, it stands for food.
Yeah.
However, our FDA doesn't do things to protect us as other agencies in other countries do. Ours lets crap through that they're now, after 30, 40 years, trying to pull back, going, oh, so sorry, you were right. This is killing you. Yeah. It's absolutely absurd. So I would not want the FDA, our FDA, regulating this whatsoever. They've made such a huge mess with everything else. They don't test stuff. They hold and read all of these research articles, right, that other people are doing, and then they go, oh, there's not enough.
I know, but
sorry, I don't trust them.
Manufacturers, if they knew there's a government agency looking over their shoulder, they wouldn't put lead or allow things that contain lead into these things.
I understand that, but ours doesn't care.
Some of the bigger issues would go away.
But ours would have to care. They don't.
Yeah.
So they would have to there was an agency looking over their shoulder that cared about what their citizens were getting. Ours does not.
Well, FDA likes the money that they get from the pharmaceutical companies. So they would get money from supplement companies. And some of these supplement companies...
There's not the same kind of money in that.
Some of them do well.
I'm not saying they don't
And the bad ones would disappear at that point.
Maybe we'll agree to disagree because I don't think anything good
There's
would
got to
come
be
from the
something
FDA.
that regulates supplements. Somebody somewhere needs to step up and regulate supplements
I don't
because
disagree with that.
people are there are literally, they have weight gainers that they
Mhm.
sell in like stores, vitamin stores. I won't name them. National chains, there's two big ones that actually have steroids in them,
Oh yeah.
but they're not regulated. So you literally are taking testosterone. You have no idea you're doing that.
Right.
And it's not healthy testosterone, but they put it in there because people will get this. They're basically carb powders. So it's carbohydrates and protein. You
Mhm.
take 2 big scoops of it and it's supposed to help you gain weight really quickly. Some of them actually do put steroids in there. Some of them put SARMs in there. Some of them put different types of peptides in there. And you're taking it. You have no idea you're taking it. And you all of a sudden test positive for steroids.
Right. And I don't disagree with you. That is not okay. It's not okay that companies do that. And I agree. They do it because no one is watching. I just don't think we can take a corrupt organization who's never cared
Yeah.
about its citizens to do the right thing and expect them to do it now. We
Yeah.
need a brand new organization who will come in, do the right thing. But I don't think that's ever going to exist. I'm sorry. I'm usually not a pessimist, but I am a realist. And I see what this country and every other country is doing right now, and they're not looking out after their citizens in any way, shape, or form.
Well, and that's not across the board. I mean, you look at some of the things that they've done in the government since the election recently. It's only you can tell if they were caring about their own benefit, they wouldn't say it. They wouldn't say the things they're saying. But I don't know if they've made any strides in improving the health of the nation.
I think there's a few people who care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's enough to make the kind of impact that we need to turn the health of the nation around. I don't think we will ever see that.
Yeah.
Until people decide to do their own research.
Well, the part of the problem is the minute a certain person says something, everyone who politically disagrees with that person says everything that person says must be wrong.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, when you politicize things, even, health information like that, that's what you're going to end up with. And then nobody gets the information or nobody will listen to it because it's put on by somebody they don't.
Right.
It's sad. It's very, very sad. So, to wrap it up, there's really not much more in this article. This particular doctor is just saying she wants her patients to do more resistance training, eat more fruits and vegetables. Okay. Do 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity per week. And there you go.
We have a friend of ours. He's fairly muscular, and I don't want to name him, but he exercises, and he has a history of family history of heart disease.
Mhm.
And his medical doctor, his cardiologist, tested him. Everything's fine, and then said, "I think you're lifting too heavy in the gym. Stop going heavy. Lift lighter weights." So he was asking me, like, is this true? I shouldn't lift as heavy because I have people in my family history that had heart disease? I'm like, okay, are you lifting weights that you can lift? He goes, yeah. Well, then go for it. I mean, if I couldn't pick up 200 pounds and I throw 200 pounds on my back and it
Right.
causes me to collapse.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah. But he's bench pressing several hundred pounds and his doctor's saying, no, you're bench pressing too heavy. You're too strong. and when you're pressing,
You can't even
that's
make this
bad
stuff
for your
up.
heart. I go, wait, isn't it actually making your heart more efficient? Shouldn't you? I mean, isn't survival based on adaptation? And how does the body adapt under load, under stress? And in fact, we've seen multiple studies where you take stress away, you give them perfect environments, and these things die. Animals, cells, people. That's what happens to people in space. They come back, they have trouble walking because there's no load on their bodies. I don't understand
space.
what some people say, and I go, well, give me some data that backs that or proves that. Give me some research studies. Oh no, I have a cousin whose dog lifted too heavy, and their brother-in-law's heart failed.
I would like to see the physique of the doctor who told him that.
Nice.
It could just be
Good
jealousy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You know, sir, you're looking a little bit muscular, and I'm feeling a little bit self-conscious. So I'm going to ask you to cut that crap out.
You're too fit. Too fit. Cut it out. Yeah, why not? So you found some weird stuff when you were looking at data on creatine. You ran into some stuff that's happening in Japan.
Well, I like to kind of see, what all is going on in, health and technology, because I truly believe that the technological advancements are way further along than what they tell us, right? They never tell us stuff right as it's happening. They tell us things after it's been out for a while. They've been playing with it and they figured some stuff out, and then they begin to trickle information out. That's just the world we live in. So I was asking about, I found it very fascinating that there's this de-extinction movement happening in the cloning world. And so I'm, every once in a while I look up and I see, things that have changed. Like there's a group who just, I would say in the past like 12 to 18 months, I think it was, they did some genetic changes to, I think it was a gray wolf, to create the genetic, like the genetic chain of what a dire wolf would be. And so they took this gray wolf and genetically modified it and essentially, for lack of a better term, cloned and created a dire wolf, which is extinct. So they're talking about cloning all of these extinct animals and like using this to help reduce the risk of extinction in other animals like the red wolf and stuff like that. So one company just bought another, which is a little bit scary. And so there's a massive company now that is really digging into animal cloning. And we know what this leads to, right? Because there were always concerns about cloning. Should it be done? Should it be done? No. Most believe that there's a lot of risk. And we started cloning. And it's like, it's just one thing after another. It's a little bit sad, a little bit scary. But what popped up this time when I was doing my search was that, let me see if I can go back and find it. Bear with me. In Japan, sorry, I can't find it now. In Japan, they actually have just approved using stem cells that they can now reprogram. There's something that they make a change to in a stem cell, which then I think it's something naturally that can happen when a stem cell is supposed to be one thing, and then something changes in it and it kind of falls off and can become anything, right? And so they figured out how to create that mutation so that they can make that stem cell become anything that they want. And so they have now approved to make those stem cells embryonic cells. And they are now trying to combine that with IVF. So what they're really trying to do is genetically create from nothing a human being and then transfer it into a live human. That to me is terrifying.
Yeah. Because you really don't know what you created until that baby's born.
Right.
And so you can just imagine the kinds of things. By the way, you said IVF. That stands for in vitro fertilization. So right now, fertility clinics will take, the egg and the sperm from mom and dad, and they fertilize it in a petri dish, and have it grow into a zygote, and then they implant it back into the uterus, and then that develops into a baby, which has helped a lot of people with fertility issues be able to have children. That's how they do it when someone donates sperm as well. They can take it from a donor and do the same thing and help them have a baby. But this is going way beyond that, because it's actually creating a genetically modified human
Right.
from non reproductive cells. They're just taking a cell and turning it into a stem cell. Stem cells, by definition, can become anything. In fact, if you put stem cells next to liver cells, they become liver cells. You put them next to kidney cells, they become kidney cells. That's why stem cell treatment is so powerful, because when you inject stem cells into a joint that doesn't have any cartilage, it regrows the cartilage. When you inject it into muscle, it makes it grow. When they have these spray guns with stem cells, and they spray it on people who've had 3rd and 4th degree burns, and without scarring, their skin regenerates and becomes normal within a
Yeah.
matter of weeks.
I have a weird brain, and my brain naturally goes down a lot of rabbit holes. So and I love history. So World War II history is actually one of my favorites, as well as biblical history. So that's also something I love. So the one thing that always um, fascinated me and surprised me that people didn't talk about more was how the Nazi regime was so into gene editing and genetics and bloodlines, and um, they had technologically, they had advancements that no one else, not just in health, but also in weaponry, that no one else had access to. That
So there
no,
really is a Captain America?
I'm not sure about that, but um, it's, if I'll let people go down their own rabbit hole. But my first question was, some of what Japan is doing is reminiscent to me. Feels like there's some parallels to how, and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling Japanese, I'm not saying that they are like the Nazis, that's not it. But when we're talking about that kind of technology in health and trying to engineer humans in a certain way, there is a lot of parallels there. And so I would just say, if you're like, what is she talking about? Do some research on how the Nazis approached bloodlines and genetic engineering and things like that. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, they were the ones that created, I do believe, a very specific kind of tank that no one else in the world had, that had they been able to mass produce it, it probably would have turned the tide of the war in their favor. They created specific, engines that no one else had seen or been able to manufacture. So there's so much knowledge that they had access to that other countries didn't. Where did that knowledge come from? You can do your own rabbit hole research there. But I just found it very, very, very fascinating.
So we're going to have genetically engineered Japanese humans.
Well, I'm certainly not doing it. That's scary.
I agree. I agree. Well, I guess their FDA doesn't care about that stuff.
It's not. They got it approved.
Yeah.
So they're on it.
Wow. So you think the first human's already been created
Oh, 100%. They've cloned humans for years.
in Japan?
Everywhere. The United States, I'm sure, has done it too.
Wow.
Sorry, I am one of those.
Do
I
they
could
call
put my
them
tin
the
hat on
people?
you. They might call them the people. That's funny.
They're among us.
We once had a patient who said that.
Yes. She was a.
She may not have been wrong now.
Yeah. She liked controversies, and she said there are aliens among us that
They're
look
called
just
people.
like us, and they're called the people. So not, power to the people
Or we the people.
or we the people. That's different.
Maybe it's different, or maybe
this
it's
is
not.
just the people. And so
we have
anyway.
now switched over to a conspiracy podcast.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yeah.
That's
so,
gotta
hey,
be
guys,
fun.
we were talking about some of you don't know the two of us that well. And I'm switching gears, by the way. We're
I
done
noticed
with the
that.
conspiracy. Some of you don't know us very well. And maybe you'd like to know more about us. So we're kicking around the idea for one of the episodes where I would just interview Brandy and kind of share her life story with you and the things that made Brandy who she is and the difficulties and good times and all of that make her who she is. And then she would turn around and do the same with me, so that you guys, some of you have spent a lot of time with us over the past 2-3 years. We've been doing this podcast, 130 some episodes. Maybe we'll do one where all we do is talk about ourselves. I don't know if that's interesting to you. If it is, comment or send us a message of some sort.
Give us a like.
A lot of you watch us on LinkedIn. I always see all your messages, and then we look at Sean definitely looks at your messages on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all of those places.
Brings
so
those to us, yeah.
anyways, but today we talked about creatine, and I do think creatine's a good substance. Do your own research on it and find out if it's something that's right for you. What we concluded with is that you do not need to be a power lifter or a weightlifter or a bodybuilder to take it. There's benefits to it with brain function, cognition, and sleep deprivation. And then if you are going to be lifting weights, it helps you grow muscle faster, increase your strength, protect you from injury.
And protects from muscle atrophy.
Yeah, if you're not lifting weights, you just don't want to lose more muscle. There was another supplement. Do you remember this? HMB, is that what it was called?
Yep. I was just thinking about that.
Which is another supplement that...
Because they actually put it with creatine sometimes.
Yeah, some people take HMB with creatine, and it's supposed to preserve muscle loss or muscle atrophy, which comes with age. We lose muscle as we age. Now, I haven't aged, but those of us who do age...
But don't worry, he married someone who has.
I might eventually age. Who knows? So, anyways, but it's just to be totally honest. There's been a couple of times recently where I started asking myself the question: am I slowing down?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, see, I've been too busy to ask myself.
I'm wondering, because I wonder if I'm like when I'm seeing patients and everything. Sometimes I go, I don't think I'm moving as fast as I used to. So that could be an aging thing. Anyways, comment on that too. If you guys know us and you've seen me, just be like, yeah, you're definitely slowing down. I want to know. But don't lie. Just tell the truth.
I mean, clearly I'm struggling with my reading. I apologize for today. My reading was not smooth.
I think you contracted my dyslexia.
I think I may have. And maybe it was that the article was not written well. We can also go with that.
It was not written
There
very
were a few
well.
sentences. I'm like, what are they saying? And I've read this already, so.
That's right. So, all right. Anyways, check out creatine. Look into supplementing with it, and then if we come up with more articles on that, we'll talk about that. We have some great articles here on ultra processed foods and what it's doing to the organs of the people, and not the people, but our people, normal people, humans. Not genetically modified or engineered humans. And then we've got some other news, cholesterol, sciatica, all kinds of stuff. So please join us again. And until then, have a great time. And if you're watching this before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving.
We'll see you next time.
Live radio, local podcasts, the Frederick Podcast Network at listenfrederick.com.